Hello friends, Tanya here for Spellbinders, and today I am finally coming out with my November 2023 Spellbinders 10 cards kit. All the kits? There we go. We're going to start out making some gold metallic cardstock using the Simon Hurley Lunar Paste in Slippery When Wet. I'm just using my finger to apply it on the scrap of cardstock. I have lots of scraps of like 100 or 110 pound cardstock from when I cut down card bases. And we're going to assemble the pieces from this Towering Flowers. I think that's what it's called. The Large Die of the Month kit. And I'm going to do some ink blending on the petal parts. I had die cut all of the greenery out of some green paper that I spritzed with the Tone on Tone shimmery spray from Hero Arts in Spring Green. And I cut the flower parts out of some light blue, kind of aqua or pool colored cardstock from my rainbow of paper scraps. And I'm using this shaded lilac distress ink to add some shading detail and some extra color. I love how aqua and this bluish purple light color blend together. I think they make a beautiful blend. And now we're going to assemble the greenery with the flowers. I'm just going to add glue and show you how they assemble with each of the pieces. Now we can talk a little bit about why this video was so long in the making. I actually had the first 5 cards created at the very beginning of this month, before the 6th, when all of the kits are available for individual purchase. But I ended up doing an epic road trip with 2 of my grandchildren. I live in the northern part of Minnesota, closer to Canada than to the cities. And I took our 12-year-old grandson 11-year-old grandson. Is he 11? Yes. To the Science Museum in Minneapolis because that was what he chose for his birthday gift. He had an option of getting $50 in cash or an experience with grandma. And he really wanted to go to the Science Museum. And we've been waiting for an opportunity for this to happen. And everything just fell into place. I'm in orientation at my new job. I was able to take a little bit of extra time off. And my 11-year-old grandson's dad, my son, asked if I would drive to southern Minnesota to a little town called Welcome, Minnesota. I never knew that this town existed. And pick up a puppy for them. She is adorable. Her name is Penelope. She's a little Havanese, and she's 5 months old. And oh my gosh, she is so cute. Anyway, I decided to take this opportunity to pick up my almost 5-year-old granddaughter while I was in Minneapolis. So we drove down one day, went to the Science Museum, spent some time in the evening with my daughter and her family, got up the next morning, drove to get the puppy, and then we trucked it all the way back home. Now, all of that being said, I spent probably almost 20 hours in the car with 2 children who both were ill, just mildly ill. Actually, the grandson wasn't ill until partway through. He had a little bit of cough, cold symptoms starting the second day. And my granddaughter had snotty nose the whole time. Now, I've been an ER nurse for a really long time. That means that my immune system is pretty darn good. However, I finally caught the kid's snottiness. So, this is my second day of feeling human since then. So, epic road trip, puppy, Science Museum, fun times with grandkids, and sick for a week. That's what took me so long to get these cards out for you. I hope the wait was worth it. Now, I am doing 2 cards at once with this first card making session. I'm using some ink blending to create some fun backgrounds, did some spattering, showed you another way to use the Simon Hurley lunar paste by diluting it and spattering it on the cardstock. I did some embossing with the embossing folder of the month. And now I'm using the Pearl Luster Cosmic Shimmer gilding polish. Now, these are going to be mini slimline cards. And whenever I do embossing on a panel for a card, I always do the die cutting for the final shape first because you don't want to smush your embossing. I did put some extra cardstock behind these panels, and I'm adhering them to 3.5 by 6.5 inch card bases. And I'm doing both of them at once because they're going to be somewhat similar. The layouts are going to be different, but same color scheme, etc. Now I'm going to take the 2 largest blooms from the Towering Blooms, the large die of the month, and do kind of a mirror image. We're going to use the same 2 pieces of greenery die cuts and carefully lay these out on the card front, trying to cover the most of the card front that we can. I add a little bit of glue in the center and on the edges of, in the middle of each of the petals. And then I carefully place the stem and leaf, trying to make sure everything stays in the bounds of the panel. And since this is a very textured background, I find the extra weight of a heavyweight block very helpful. Now, this one was my hardest one to get stuck where I wanted it, and you're going to find that I fiddle with this for a little bit, and that's okay. Sometimes your flower arrangements need a little fluffing. I'm adding the glue to the stem, deciding that I can place the flower after I get the stem placed. And I'm tucking the end of the stem for each piece of greenery under the flower that it is not connected to. And that just creates a nice cohesive look. Now, I've got those attached, and I did take the scrap of metallic created cardstock and take the vase from that same large die of the month kit and die cut the vase for this ink blended background, and we're going to fill it with flowers. This is pretty close to the pictured way that this die set was created. It was created to fill an A2 size card front with these beautiful floral images and this vase. I am not using all of the elements. I'm only using 2 of the flowers and half of the greenery. And I didn't use the berries on this particular portion at all. I did raise the vase up a little bit in the lower portion with some extra pieces of cardstock so that I could tuck our stem tips in here and let the pot just really shine. Now, this is probably one of my favorite kits this month. This is the All You Need Sentiments. It is 2 foil plates and 1 die that cuts out all of these sentiments. There are 14 sentiments in this kit. And oh my gosh, I love this. I've got a tip for this for you a little later in the video. I took 2 sentiments for each card. The potted flowers one says, "A gift for you." And the mirrored floral images says, "Thinking of you." And on the inside, so on the ink blended one, I chose the not reverse foiled for the front. And on the inside, I used the reverse foiled. And just the opposite on the other card. Now I'm going to adhere the berries on the inside of the Thinking of You card. And then I'm adhering the Feel Better Soon sentiment to the inside. And that finishes that card. Oh, almost. There's one more element I'm going to do. And on the inside of the second card, we have a gift for you on the front and thanks so much on the inside. Now, when I did all the foiling for the Glimmer of the month, I did use the Spellbinders specialty cardstock to do the reverse foiling for all of those sentiments, because I just find that with reverse foiling, you get the best result that way by using specialty cardstock. Otherwise, I use the hammer mill. Here is what I did. I took all of these different colors of foil and foiled them with the positive and the negative. You can get them to fit a 4¼ by 5½ inch piece of cardstock. And now I will have all of these sentiments foiled and ready to go for whenever I decide to use them. Now, I have a gold, a brassy color, I think polished brass, and a silver, all die cut and ready to go. Next, we're going to use the die of the month, Build a Card Hello, I think is what it's called. And I've die cut this delicate detail die, and I'm putting some washi tape on the back of this. I was really careful to make sure that all of these elements stayed in the die cut because I want to color the petals. I'm going to use some Copic markers to do that coloring. I've got a peachy red and a orangey yellow, and I'm going to use those to do some blending to create the petals. And if you have them all adhered in this piece of cardstock yet, it's really easy to do your ink blending, your alcohol marker blending and your coloring. And I'm doing this on the smaller flower, single flower, and on the greenery. There's a berry branch also. And I am also going to use these 3 greens. Actually, I don't know. Do I use all 3? Yeah, I think I do. And I don't have to be careful about any of this. Plus, I don't bend any of the delicate die cut when it's still all in the cardstock. So this is a great way to make it easier on yourself if you want to color your die cuts. And this one just begs to be colored. As you saw, I had another delicate die cut ready to go. And I honestly did not need to do the coloring on the greenery because I was going to, well, some of the greenery. Some of it does not show through. And I figured that out on this smaller flower here. And I'm doing just 2 shades of green here. Now, I am going to take my reverse tweezers because it's like my third hand. My fingers cannot carefully hold this delicate die cut and get all of the gluing where I want it. And the reverse tweezers really helps in that way. Now I'm going to carefully overlay this on our colored die cut. And then you have this beautiful stained glass effect. Just gorgeous. Now you can leave the tape on to hold the things in place. Or in this case, I took it off and then realized, hey, I still need that because I don't want those pieces to fall out. And I want, while I'm getting ready to adhere them, and I want an easy way to glue them all down in one fell swoop. So I'm just taking little bits of the washi tape and adhering them behind the pieces that would potentially fall out and make my life a little more difficult. Now I'm going to set these pieces aside for when I'm ready to use them. But look at that. How gorgeous is that? We're going to do the same with this larger element. And you could do this delicate detail portion in any color you want. I chose to do white. It'd be gorgeous in gold. I could have used brushed white or silver or gold or black. Any of those beautiful colors. Or a metallic cardstock. So many different options. And you don't have to color the background either. So there is a shadow element. And I'm going to use some Pearl Luster Gilding Polish again. And this is a new jar. I know I mentioned my other one looked like it was about half full. It's actually probably a little more than half full. But since I am working out of town, out of my own craft room sometimes, I decided to have a pot of the gilding polishes and the lunar paste that I really enjoy using in both locations. So this is a brand new one. part of that is because I forgot them at the other house the last time I was crafting there, and I was really missing them. So I needed to have them in both places. I'm not making double purchases of almost anything, but some things you just gotta. Now I'm just going to carefully place this on its shadow background now that it's dried and die cut. And there is a shadow element for this flower also and for the branch, but I did not actually use those this time. We're going to take this Winterberry mica distress ink, distress spray, and spray it on some white cardstock. I think it was white cardstock. Yeah. And then I die cut the little flowers that go on this delicate large piece. There are 12 flowers, and there is a way that they fit on these little background flowers, just so. And I was trying to be careful to do that. So you can see that I'm spinning the flower until it looks like it matches the area I'm going to adhere it to. And I'm adding little dabs of glue to each of those areas in groups of probably 4, so that they don't dry completely before I figure out how to adhere them to the background. Now, you don't have to be so delicate about how you adhere them. They don't have to sit on their assigned seat just perfect. But I like how that turned out. Here are those little branches. I colored the berries that beautiful yellow and pink. And now we're going to bring out the clear Stampin' Die of the month. This is all sentiments. There are 4 large scripty sentiments and a bunch of typeset sub-sentiments. I'm going to stamp and heat emboss these sentiments twice because I want to have some extra on hand. Sometimes it's nice to do some batching so that you don't have to stop and do ink blending, emboss every card. So I've got happy and I've got sending, and we're going to use happy on this one. And here are a bunch of the sub-sentiments. I decided to do a bunch of these at the same time so I'd have some choices. I am using Hero Art's gold embossing powder. You can use whatever gold you have on hand. I know that Spellbinders carries a gold embossing powder. I don't happen to have it, but it looks like it is a very similar embossing powder to the Hero Arts. To be honest, I haven't bought any new embossing powder in a long time. It lasts very long time. There are coordinating dies for all of these sentiments. There's one for the typeset and one for each of the scripty ones. Now we're going to use the Betterpress for this month. This is the Sentimental Mosaic. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a background plate and it's slightly bigger than an A2 size piece of cardstock. And there are 3 sentiments in this month's Betterpress. Beautiful. They don't have a coordinating die, but it's easy to use. Circles, diamonds, arches, rectangles, squares, any of those things in your stash to create, to die cut those out if you would like. I'm using those 2 yellows. I think it's Scattered Straw and Wild Honey. And I inked up the plate, ran it through my die cut machine, and I'm using this is actually some cheap watercolor paper that I don't like to use for watercolor. It came in a kit, and it is not a good performer, and I'm going to use it up with my letterpress. So that's what I've been doing, and I have several sheets of it. Now, Spellbinders is coming out with its own watercolor paper, and next month I'll be highlighting that. So look forward to that. We're going to make another 5x7 card, and this time I cut this way down. I think this is 6x4 inches, so it might even be smaller than that. Let me take a tape measure out and measure that. So I'm using the beautiful detailed swag from the die of the month, and we're going to use the sentiments, the happy and birthday, from the clear Stampin' Die of the month this month. This is 3.5 by 5.5. That's what size that is. I love that large white border. The real motivation there was that I wanted the swag of flowers to cover almost the entire background panel. And I love how that background just kind of emerges behind our beautiful die cut elements. I did layer up the happy and adhere that to the card front. And now I am adding some Dream Drops in Gold Luxe. I have had these for a year or two, and they've been just sitting in my drawer. And I kind of have a love-hate situation going on with the Nouveau drops. Mine tend to be too thick, or I don't know, they just haven't worked out very well for me. And the Dream Drops, oh my gosh, they are, I don't know if it's because I've been storing them on their side because they're too tall to fit in the drawer upright or what, but they are absolutely perfection. And I have 10 colors of Dream Drops, and all of them are still available. So yeah, they might come out to play more. So that was card number 3. We're going on to card number 4. And this is with the stitching die of the month. Absolutely gorgeous. What is this? Grand Bloom, I think. Grand Stitched Bloom. And it has lots of elements here. I took and die cut a bunch of cards, or a bunch of pieces from some various shades of red to melony pink and some green, and all of them have been spritzed with different distress mica stains, and I can't even tell you for sure what they were. Just a variety of them, and these were in my stash. Actually, I just went through my rainbow of cardstock scraps, and I have one section that is dedicated to scraps of distress mica stain cardstock. After that, I stitched all of these different elements using some crochet thread that was gold, or that is a gold color with a gold twist on it, kind of like a baker's twine. And after I did all of that, I am assembling these pieces. Now, those different floral petals can be combined to make different flowers, and I love that versatility. This is a really large bloom, and with all of the stitching, it's pretty thick. So this is not a card you're going to want to give to someone probably through the mail, although you could do it through the mail. It is a very detailed piece, and I was trying to figure out if I could actually put these back to back and make an ornament, and I think you can. I did not ultimately do that. I am showing you how to assemble all of these different versions of the flowers. So we had the first one that had absolutely all of the different layers, I think. And then the second one just has the base bloom and the I'm not sure what you call that, where the bloom attaches to the stem, where it's got that cup of green. And here we have the last little tiny piece. This looks like just a bud ready to open. Next, we're going to take the Poinsettia Bells and Border embossing folder and die. Now I'm taking 2 pieces of cardstock that are 5x7, and I'm going to run them both through this embossing folder at the same time. And then, because I want to layer this and I want it to be identical, I die cut one of them so I have the border to layer over it. I guess I really didn't need to do it quite like that, but I think this worked out best for me. Now, I wanted to, since I had to die cut that border with the coordinating die, I ran that back through the embossing folder to get back more of the detail of the embossing. Now we're going to take this cardstock and amp it up a little bit using our Pearl Luster Gilding Polish. Just a quick sweep over those areas, and you could use lunar paste or whatever other shimmery product you've got. I just love this gilding polish. And put some extra cardstock behind that. You'll see that I snuck in some of the essential arches and die cut one of those with some brushed white cardstock. We'll center that on our 5x7 card base. And this is going to be a holiday card. Now, I've added a couple layers of extra cardstock behind this border. I'll adhere that right where it fits with the rest. And you can see that there is an embossed border also there. So it's a good guideline for you. Next, I'm going to adhere our shimmery white or our brushed white cardstock arch. And then our beautiful bloom. Just adding glue in some strategic spots. And being careful to not get glue everywhere. Tucking that under the border so it looks like it's emerging from behind that border. And I have a sentiment from the Glimmer of the Month that I've already die cut. It looks like this was with either matte gold or satin gold foil. And it says Holiday Greetings. I did add a little extra cardstock behind that sentiment banner. Last, we're going to add a sentiment from a stamp set from my stash with some gold ink to the inside. Card number 5, we're going to pull out that Betterpress background again. This time we're going to go with that purple and blue, so we're going to use some shaded lilac and some Salvage Patina Distress Oxide inks. You could use the Distress inks also, but I really like the way the Distress inks play well with the Betterpress. So we're going to run this through. This is again on that not my favorite watercolor paper. It's thick and it does take the letter pressing very well. I'm also going to take the same inks in Distress ink, and I'm going to use this blender brush to blend over the Betterpress or the letterpress image. And this is going to give us a tone-on-tone effect that I really love. I didn't do the ink blending beforehand because I didn't know exactly where it was going to land on the cardstock, and I wanted to make sure my blending matched my letterpressing. Just going to get a nice even coat, and we're going to try to get a little blending in the middle. I don't have a large ink pad of all of the Distress inks, just a few. It's a nice rainbow selection. And the rest I have in the minis. And as the new colors come out, I get the large and the mini if I can help it, because I just really love the Distress inks, whether they be Distress Oxide or the plain Distress inks. They really are very handy to me. I don't think you have to have every ink that comes out on the market. Because there are lots of other things I'd rather to spend money on, and there really are only so many colors. And they all have excellent ink. So if there's a color you find in another line that you like, you really don't have to get the entire set. I know I suffer a bit from the full set syndrome, and I'm really trying to use my brains about that a little better. Next, we're going to use the Build a Card Hello small die of the month. There's this beautiful little scalloped rectangle in the set, and we're going to use that as a backdrop for our images. This is an A1 card, so it's, or a note card. So no, sorry, this is a 4-bar card. Actually, I think those are all names for the same size. This is 3.5 by, I make it 5 inches. I think the regulation is 4 7/8, but that eighth of an inch, yeah, not messing with that. So I'm taking the Towering Blooms berries. I had made 2 of each of the different kinds of flowers and greenery in that set. And we're going to use the wax seal of the month. This is Blooming for You. And it is so pretty. And it came with this pastel lilac beads this time. And that was the other thing I left at the other house, was my wax seal chimney. I did have an extra spoon at home. So yeah, I held the spoon over the tea light to melt my wax, and it wasn't pretty. We're using the Indigo Eclipse Dream Drops this time, and I'm going to add a scattering of those around. There are circular adhesives that you can purchase from Spellbinders to adhere your wax seals to your projects. I've heard it said that they will pop off of your project with a wet adhesive. That hasn't happened to me yet. Does it mean it won't? No, but this seems to be adhered pretty solidly. But if you want that extra protection, you can buy those seals. For our next card, we're going to start with some ink blending with Twisted Citron. I really think it goes well with the greens that I used to do the Copic coloring on our Delicate Detail Die of the Month set, which I can't remember the name. All of these things will be linked in the description box below. And I do come back to these videos and change the links when they become available, when they're not the actual month of that die kit. We're using the Meandering Flower embossing folder, and I took out the Snow and Ice luster polish. This is just a clear glittery polish. It's absolutely stunning, and I like how it adds that beautiful little sparkle. Now this is a brand new container because, again, I forgot my other one at the other house, so I decided I needed one at both houses. And there was a bunch on the lid. So I was trying to get that all scooped out and put on the in the pot. And I see that I'm picking up a little bit of the Twisted Citron. It's not transferring into the pot, so we're all good there. That is our lustered up piece. I did put some extra cardstock on the back after this was dried. It does not take long for it to dry, a couple of minutes. And if you hit it with your heat tool, even less than that. I do have these beautiful berry branches and this flower that I have grouped together and held in place with some press and seal. I had planned a bunch of these cards, the layouts with the press and seal, and set them aside until I was feeling well enough to create these cards. So like I said, I don't normally get sick. Yes, my asthma flares up, but that's not the same as being sick. I have gotten sick every month since September. I don't know what's going on. I want it to stop. Let's hope December doesn't have any surprises for me. We're going to use the sentiments and I'm just showing you where I got the detailed flowers and the sentiment for this set. We're also going to use another one of these beautiful Glimmer sentiments from the Glimmer of the Month. And here is my new tip. I took a piece of copy paper, cut it in half, and then cut one half of that in half again, glued the bottom edge on each side of that cardstock, and then folded it into 8 little compartments and used my stapler to create those different compartments. And now I have 16 slots for the 14 different sentiments, so that I don't have to dig through my little cup full of sentiments. I can just go directly to the sentiment I want and find the color I want. I was spending way too much time sorting through all of those little sentiments, and I thought I just needed a quick and easy way to create a way to store them separately. Now we're going to use a Betterpress plate that came out this month, and it is Kaleidoscope Blooms, I think it's called, or Flowers, something like that. Absolutely stunning. I wanted to make kind of a wedding card, and I wanted to make it a 5x7. So I have a piece of that watercolor cardstock taped to the platen here, and I am taping it where the Betterpress is not going to be. I'm inking up the Betterpress plate with Antique Linen Distress Oxide ink, making sure I've got all of it inked up, and then I will run this through a second time. Now the platen and the background, or the platform, really do a good job of helping you line things up. Next, I'm going to take the Distress Mica Stain in Unraveled and a piece of cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Spritz that, dry it, use one of these essential arches to cut that out because I thought white would be too stark. Now, in retrospect, I think white would have been fine behind this, but this looks delightful also. We're using more of the Towering Blooms, And we're using the large Sending, Scripty, and the Love and Happiness from the Clear Stamp and Die of the Month. I'm going to adhere these panels together. I did put some extra cardstock behind each of these layers. And it's another 5x7 card. I think that background turned out amazing. I love that. It looks like really great Zen doodling, and it would be kind of fun to color those in. Now that I have my arch adhered, we're going to take our Betterpress, press and seal grouped elements, add some glue behind them, and carefully center those on the arch. Now, typically you let this sit for just a minute or so that glue really well adheres, but I wanted to make sure my sentiments were actually lined up as well as I wanted them to be. Made some minor adjustments and pushed down a little bit, and yeah, turned out great. Now, to make the front of the card, I did die cut out of that 5x7 piece of cardstock, the main panel, and then I had this leftover piece. And I like to take that leftover piece, trim it down a little bit so it doesn't interfere with the hinge in the middle, and add it to the inside of the card. I love to take the scraps of my creations and add some detail to the inside. That way I don't have to do any extra work to add some beautiful detail to the inside. We're using another sentiment from the Glimmer of the Month. This one is Always and Forever. So sending love and happiness, always and forever. This would work for all kinds of things, including weddings and anniversaries. Very versatile set of sentiments. For our card number 8, we're going to take Shaded Lilac, and we're going to ink blend. So this is so that I get the color I want. I don't have any cardstock in this color. So I'm ink blending with the Distress Oxide. You could do it with the Distress ink also, but I find this covers very quickly, and that's a very juicy ink pad. I'm taking the Criss Cross Motif 3D embossing folder of the month, and gorgeous. I actually didn't do anything else to that embossing. This is going to be another 4-bar card, which is 3.5 by 5 inches. We are taking that scalloped rectangle from the small die of the month. We're taking some flowers from the Towering Blooms, and we have the wax seal of the month again, Blooming for You. Absolutely beautiful. I did use the deco foil. I think that's the deco something paint pen in silver to add highlights to that waxed seal, and adhered that to my white card base. The scalloped rectangle is die cut from some brushed white cardstock. I'm going to take the flowering stem here and adhere that to our scallop rectangle. And I'm just trying to have a really pleasing layout with the leaves. And I'm not worrying if they overhang the edges in this particular case. And then we're going to center our wax seal on here in the way that it looks the prettiest. I want to make sure the stems are tucked behind the wax seal. And last, we're going to take one of the Glimmer of the Month sentiments, Thanks a Million. So this says, for you. And on the inside, it's just simply going to say, Thanks a Million. Just going to adhere that to the inside. And that is card number 8. Card number 9, we're going to use the Grand Stitched Blossoms. I actually made 2 colorways of this stitched blossom. I used the first one that had more of a Christmassy feel, and this one has more of a spring or, I don't know, just anytime color look. I used the brushed white as the largest element there, and then various shades of pink and red. Again, these are all sprayed with Distress Mica stains. And I think I used Cocktail Dress and Winterberry. I think those are the colors I used. I can't be positive. I just really pulled scraps out of my scrap bin. And I used a brighter green for the stems on this one, both the paper and the mica stain. And I'm just filling this entire background, which is cut to 6.5 by 4.5, I believe. And I'm trimming off the extra here. And we're going to use the cut off elements to fill in a little bit of the background. So I'm going to take 2 leaves and add a little extra to fill in. This is a great way to get the most out of all of the elements that you worked so hard to create. Well, worked so hard. Dyes really make our lives a lot easier, but when you take the effort to do all this die cutting, it is nice to be able to use all of the little bits and bobs that are left. So that completes my floral background. I did put a little extra cardstock on the back of that the panel before I started, and it was just a plain white piece of 4.5 by 6.5 inch white cardstock, letting all of the detail from those dies take center stage. We're going to use the Sending Sentiments stamp and die. I did heat emboss this with gold embossing powder. We did that much earlier in this video. I did layer this up with 2 or 3 layers of extra white cardstock die cut with the same die. And then I'm trying to figure out how to, with all of the dimension on here, get it to stick using my heavyweight block. Next, we're going to take one of the sentiments from the Glimmer of the Month. We're going to use the Happy Birthday, but I'm going to cut off the Happy. Now I made sure I made the tail long enough. We're going to tuck that under the edge of the Y in Happy and adhere that right down to the card base between the flowers. Then I cut a couple more pieces of cardstock with the same colors that I used for the front of the card. And I'm going to layer these. These are not stitched, but they have all of the detail, the embossing and the piercing and the die cutting. And we're going to put that inside our card. And then I'm going to heat emboss another sub-sentiment because I didn't have the one I wanted left anymore. Just stamping twice, delicately pushing down on our stamp so we don't squish it and create a distorted image. And then I'm embossing with the gold embossing powder. I've been using the same 2 coffee filters for years now. You don't have to change them all the time. They do not get embossing powder stuck to them. They are very anti-static, so you can use the same coffee filters all the time. Now that that's been heat embossed, I'm going to do some partial die cutting to get this exactly the size I want. And then we'll adhere that to the inside of our card. Just going to center that under the bloom. So this is going to say, Happy Birthday, have a sweet day. Now for our last card, we're going to use that Criss cross motif again with some white cardstock cut to 4 by 5.25 inches. This is going to be my token A2 card. I'm going to use my Pearl Luster Gilding Polish and highlight the raised portion of this gorgeous 3D embossed background. This doesn't take hardly any time again at all, and again it dries very quickly. Now if you have the Simon Hurley Solar Paste, you could do the same thing with your finger or a sponge, and it would create a lovely iridescent background with maybe a little tint of color. We're going to adhere that to an A2 size card base in white. And then we're going to take another of the more Christmassy colored blooms. And we're going to use another sub-sentiment from the Sending Sentiments Clear Stamp and Die. These were all assembled and waiting to be put on a card. And this actually came to me pretty quickly. It just really begged to be the star of the show. So this is a very simple background. And you could use this card for all kinds of things. So I'm not actually going to put a sentiment on the inside until I know what I want to make this card, use this card for. So that is my 10 cards. What do you think? Was it worth the wait? Did you order the kits this month? Are you a member of all of the kits? I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. And if you haven't caught it, I did do 14 cards with the card kit of the month and most of the elements from the rest of the kits also for this month. I'll have that linked at the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done that. Check the description box below for all of the fun products that I used today, and click on the visual list for the complete list. Until next time, here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Bye-bye.